What's going on, everyone? My name is Jamie Theodosi, and today I'm bringing you another interview. Today I was joined by Reece McEwan, who is a bantamweight contender in Cage Warriors. We spoke about his debut back in April and his win over Sam Spencer, and we also talked about his upcoming fight on July 22nd with Kingsley Crawford. We also spoke a little bit about UFC London, and we spoke about something that he's doing outside of the cage, which is extremely admirable. And then we had a bit of fun with some questions at the end. So stay tuned. So I'm joined by Reece McEwan. Thanks for joining us today, Reece.
Thanks so much for having me.
I just want to go back to your last performance at Cage Warriors 136. Obviously, we'll speak about your upcoming fight just in a little bit. You got an extremely impressive victory in your last outing against Sam Spencer with the rear naked choke, and it was something that you were kind of pushing for even from the first round. It was something you were threatening with. Just looking back at that performance, how do you feel about that performance?
Overall, that performance that performance ticked all the boxes for me because most importantly, I got the win, and then secondly, I got a lot of information away from the fight. I would have absolutely loved to get that finish that I was seeking in the first round, but then I wouldn't have had the information that I took away from round 2 and round 3. I had some adversity. I'd done some good things. I made some mistakes, and I was able to learn a lot from the fight and come away from it with a win and a performance of the night bonus. So, it's like every performance. Like you go in, you win. You can win in 30 seconds and still have something that you want to improve on. But like I said, I had essentially 15 minutes in the cage there, very valuable cage time. Like first fight in Cage Warriors, and the performance was good. I had good things to take away from it, and I had I had a lot of notes on how to take myself to the next level, and I've addressed all the points as far as I'm concerned for this fight.
Yeah, and then obviously talking about your next fight against Kingsley Crawford, it must have been your last out. It must have been one that really impressed the matchmakers because Kingsley's coming in off 3 wins with 2 finishes, and he's
Yep,
kind of seemingly being pushed towards that title shot. Do you see this
yep.
fight as a number one contender fight, or are you seeing it as just another fight on the way to that?
I definitely see this fight as it's hard to say with like number one contenders because it's so unofficial, and a number one contender thing like that could be a wee bit could be a bit hard because you could think that in your head, but ultimately it doesn't really know. You don't really know what's happening with the championship right now. But in my eyes, the fight definitely has high implications to put yourself at the top of the division, whether there's a belt on the line or not. Like Kingsley Crawford's without a doubt at the top of the list, and again, like it depends how you see it, but the way that I see it is I see that they've got a lot of belief in me to go and put me up there with a fight like that in my second fight in Cage Warriors. But like that's what I'm here for. I think I'm the best fight, one of the best fighters in Europe, and that's what I'm here to prove it.
Yeah, and then obviously you've just mentioned yourself, the champion of your division at the moment, Don Woodin. He's kind of got his contractual disputes at the moment with Cage
Yeah.
Warriors and whatnot. Is he someone that you see yourself fighting in the not so distant future if he does sort things out with Cage Warriors?
It's definitely going to be in the pipeline if I win this fight. And he still sticks with Cage Warriors, but in my head, as far as I'm concerned, he's not even in the division anymore. He is the champion, but just going and reading between the lines, it looks like he doesn't want to be in the promotion anymore, and that's fine. That's his issue. But I'm not really focused on him, to be brutally honest with you. I'm just focused on this next fight and seeing this as another step towards being the champion of the division. If he's the champion when I get my shot, then great. And if he's not, then whoever's there, like it doesn't really faze me.
What is your opinion on the rest of the bantamweight division at the moment? Because obviously you've got contenders kind of announcing themselves every time there's an event on. And one that has
Yeah,
recently done that is Cowell and Loughran, who is
yeah,
someone that you have obviously got a win over in the amateur scene. Is
yeah.
he someone that you think is on the top of the getting towards the top of the division and see yourself kind of bumping into at some point?
It's a weird one in terms of the division because like everybody who is going to win a fight in any division is going to look for that title because that's what we're here. That's what we're all fighting for in Cage Warriors and we're all fighting for. In each division, you want to prove that you're the best in the division. Whoever's in your way, you want to beat them and work your way up the rankings, and then obviously ultimately be the champion. So everybody who's winning a fight is going to want a title shot at the end of the day. I'm not focused on that, and I'm certainly not focused on what opponents that I can get in the future. Because again, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm not focused on them at all. I'm just focused on my own path, my own goal. Whoever cage want to throw at me, whoever they think's best for my next step, that's who I'm going to accept. And this opportunity was Kingsley Crawford, and I accepted it with open arms. But like I said, I'm just completely focused on what my goals are, what my focus is, and me performing to the best of my ability every single fight.
And is Kingsley Crawford someone that you've been kind of looking at coming up, and kind of expecting that you will get into the cage with and compete against?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you eye up the whole division though. Like, every bantamweight fight, you're like, that could be my next fight. This could be my next fight. And again, like I said, you take one fight at a time. When I fought Sam Spencer, I knew that Kingsley Crawford and Aiden James fought. I think it was 3 weeks before that, and I was impressed with his win over Aiden James. And I thought, like I do with every bantamweight that wins, though, I'm like, yeah, that's a potential good fight for me. But like I said, he's up there. He's on a good run. He's up there at the top of the division, and the fight makes so much sense in my eyes.
Yeah. And obviously,
And again,
go on, sorry.
it's hard to go back to the point I made. It's hard to focus on people unless the offer's there on paper, because you could focus on an opponent, right, and then the matchmakers or your manager might have a different idea or a different direction, and in that case, that kind of thought process was a wee bit wasted. So, like I said, I'm focused on myself. When Kingsley Crawford got offered to me, I was like, perfect. That's who I'm fighting in the 22nd of July.
Yeah. And obviously, like you just said, it's on the 22nd of July, the day after we've got UFC London touching down in the capital. Is that one that you're kind of looking at as well from a fan's point of view, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what's funny? I was like, right, I couldn't make the Belfast card because I had a bit of an injury. So I wasn't going to be able to make that card. So there was a bit of a space between the Belfast card and the London card. And I thought, right, that London card, I've got my eyes on that. And it was on the night before UFC London. But see, to be honest, being in the preparation for the fight, it's not even crossed my mind that UFC London's the night after. I've just been thinking about the 22nd of July. And then when that's over, I'll watch UFC London. But I actually had a wee brief glance at the fight card today, and I think the card looks absolutely excellent. So I'm looking forward to watching that after the fight. But I've got a bit of business to do the night before, so that's where all my attention's going.
I don't suppose you've got any predictions for that main event and co-main event of UFC London, have you? Aspinall versus Blades.
Yeah, any of the British fighters, as long as the British fighters
just supporting the Brits,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know who half of them are fighting. I don't know who half the opponents are, but I'm fully behind all the British fighters, and it'll be a good night for the British fighters again, hopefully.
Yeah, and then obviously just talking about something you've done outside of the cage as well, which is extremely admirable and respectable, and deserves some recognition. You've recently become an ambassador for the mental health charity Manon. Can you talk to us a bit about that and how kind of that came around and what made you want to get involved in such a good cause?
Yeah, so I started being an ambassador for a mental health charity in the town that I'm in Greenock called Manon Inverclyde. Again, that it's quite a proud moment for me, to be honest, to be like an ambassador for them. They got in touch with me and spoke to me and how they think that I can maybe make a difference in terms of being a face of the charity, and in a sporting context, because we all know that mental health across the board, that it's still quite hard for men to talk about being down and having poor mental health, and because there is a stigma around there that we're all tough and you don't want to talk about your problems, and then you see all the times that maybe something really bad has happened and you would never know that this person was going down a bad path, and it's maybe because they were apprehensive to talk to someone. And again, it's that stigma that men can't talk, but they should be able to have that platform and that accessibility to go and speak about their problems, and Manon Inverclyde provide that for a lot of people, and they provide that accessibility. I know when you can maybe phone up a place and say that you're struggling with mental health, you're put on a waiting list. And that's really tragic, to be honest. Whereas Manon Inverclyde they created the charity so that you're not waiting a year or 6 months for a problem, because that problem's going to obviously get worse. Like they're there right away, and they got in touch with me because they thought that having a mixed martial arts background, obviously it requires a lot of mental toughness. It's the highest of highs. It's definitely the lowest of lows. Like I've been, some of my best moments in my life are coming off like winning fights, getting promoted in jiu-jitsu, and like progression. And some of the lowest points in my life are from losing fights, losing matches, bad training sessions. You know, and they feel that being in such a maybe like a tough sport takes away that stigma. That with this fighters, like you see like Tyson Fury talking about his problems, and Ricky Hatton's came out lately and spoke about his problems. And when even being a fighter myself, when you see that somebody like Tyson Fury, big guy, heavyweight champion of the world, speaks so openly about his problems, it makes you feel that I can talk about my problems now. So yeah, they got in touch with me to help out, and yeah, I'm really privileged, and really privileged to be a part of the charity, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely something that deserves some more recognition, because like we said, there is a stigma around this, that men can't speak up because they've just got to represent a toughness. And as a fighter yourself, it is very admirable. But what sort of thing do you do with them? What sort of kind of thing is involved in that?
So at the moment, we've literally just like kind of came to terms, and like we're outlining how I can work with them and how they can work with me. And the first thing that we kind of addressed was like going into schools and having a chat with like younger teenagers. Obviously, it's the school holidays right now, and I've got a fight, so it kind of it gives us a summer holidays to go and plan. And I know they do a lot of talks in school with like former like sports people and former footballers or former rugby players. So just add martial arts to that list of people that they've got to go in and maybe speak to some high school students. I think that will be great for them, great for the community in Greenock and Inverclyde, and obviously great for me to maybe speak a bit about my story, speak about some of the highs, some of the lows. And again, like with martial arts, like it teaches you, it definitely teaches you to be more resilient. And like there's so many skills that come with like learning martial arts, with like your confidence and self-belief, and so many things that maybe you wouldn't think about, rather than just like going into a fight and fighting somebody in your shorts and try to batter them and not get battered yourself. So the first thing that we've got on the list is to go into schools and grab a chat with some high school students and see
that does sound like a great thing you're doing there. And then just kind of the last thing I want to do is like a new addition to our interviews. It's just like a quick fire questions to kind of take your mind off the fighting side of it. Well, not entirely take it off the fighting side, but just a little fun thing to end off with. So I've just got 4 questions for you now. Just kind of answer them as you see them. So the first one is, if you could change or add one rule in MMA, what would it be?
Geez, we're not MMA. Probably the 12 to 6 elbow.
Yeah.
12 to 6 elbow.
If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, but it gave the perfect nutrients, what would it be?
This is going to sound really boring, right? But I have this bowl of porridge every morning. Listen this, right? So it's the reason why I'm going to go with this meal is because, well, it depends. Can I use a takeaway?
Oh yeah, you can. It gives the perfect nutrients, so it gives all the perfect vitamins.
I had that wee switch there, and I thought I went into pure diet mode there. I would split up. Screw the porridge, right?
Yeah.
There's a place in Glasgow called Pisano pizza. If I could have that every single day, I would. Perfect nutrients in my diet, whatever. Pisano pizza, that's what I would have every day.
And what's your topping of choice?
I change my pizza all the time, to be fair. I'll probably go. So they have their pizza numbers, and I think it's their number 10. It's like basically like spicy chorizo and extra mozzarella and stuff.
Sounds good. If you could make the perfect fighter using attributes from fighters past and present, who would you use for grappling, striking, and heart?
Grappling, Khabib. Striking. Your mind goes completely blank when you hear that. Who's the best striker in MMA? Who's got the most knockout? Let's go. Let's go Israel Adesanya.
Okay.
And Hart. You got Khabib.
Yeah.
Can you say fighter twice?
Yeah, of course you can. You can do whatever you want, mate.
Khabib's mentally unbreakable, in my opinion, to be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody's breaking that man.
I mean, you've just mentioned Adesanya there for the striking. What's your opinion on the kind of shade that's being thrown his way recently in terms of his fans saying that he's boring?
I think no matter what you do when you're at that level, you're always going to be criticised. So, like, if you look at Khabib, for instance, a few years ago, he was criticised for being boring, and then he had that McGregor fight, and then so all of a sudden it became this star, this ground and pound star that was breaking everyone. But he was called boring before he was told
Yeah.
he was done. Listen, like, and then same as GSP was boring. Anderson Silva had boring fights. But then when they retire, you appreciate their greatness. I think Misery Adesanya, like, his job is to go out there and win, and that's what he's doing. Yeah, sometimes you just need to make a boring fight, but if it's, why would he go in and stack the odds of his opponent?
Yeah.
Like, why would he do that? Like, if he goes into like an absolute war, yeah, that might be very exciting, but his career span might shorten. He's doing what he needs to do to win, and I think that speaks more about his intelligence. And I don't think you will appreciate his greatness until he retires.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. The last one for them is if you were stranded on a desert island, who's one fighter you'd pick to be stranded with?
I'm going to seem like the biggest fanboy ever when I say Khabib. I just think that he would, right. I don't even know the guy, right? But I'm just going to say him because I think he would find a way to get out the island. Or he would do something. I don't know.
He'd be able to hunt the wild animals and stuff.
Or see, worst case, at least you're guaranteed good training.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, that's a good point.
You're standing on the island, Khabib, like, what can you do? And then you can ask him so many questions and learn from his mentality. And
yeah, I like that answer. Yeah, it's a good answer. Yeah. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to add, mate, before we round this up.
No, I just obviously want to say a big thanks to yourself for like having me on for an interview, and a big shout out to obviously people who are watching. They've already watched at this point. So a big shout out to the people who have tuned in to the interview, and all my sponsors, my training partners, everyone who's coming to support down in London. Cage Warriors for having me. Everyone, I'm like, I know it sounds really cheesy, but I'm just extremely grateful for the opportunity that I've got, and like I absolutely love my life. Like, so yeah. I'm extremely grateful, and thanks to everyone who's tuning in and supporting me.
Well, yeah, massively appreciate your time today, mate. Best of luck on July the 22nd. Everyone will be tuning in to see you get your hand raised, I'm sure. And yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Definitely get a victory interview afterwards.
Yeah, of course, 100%. 100%.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thanks so
it,
much
bro.
for your time.
And you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, bro.
Bye bye.